Let's just start with all the asset classes over the past 2.5 years and consider what's happened since the summer of 2020. I mean, the entire world was turned upside down in the summer of 2020, and a lot of, you had the meme stock explosion, you had the SPAC thing, you had lockdowns, you had interest rates at zero, a lot of confusion. Our view was there was going to be inflation of the money supply, certainly, right? If you take interest rates to zero and you print unlimited dollars, then there's going to be inflation. The question is, where is the inflation going to land? Where will inflation land for consumers? Like, what consumer items will get more expensive? Will it be, food or shelter or energy? And then where will the inflation land in financial assets?
Michael Saylor is the Executive Chairman of MicroStrategy, a software solutions company servicing businesses in finance, healthcare, retail, and the government sector. Michael speaks regularly on matters relating to the adoption of Bitcoin and the issues faced globally from institutions and governments.
On August 10th, 2020, MicroStrategy announced we were going to buy $250 million worth of Bitcoin. We bought Bitcoin because we saw it at that point as digital gold, a non-sovereign a non-sovereign bearer instrument, store of value asset. And we liked it better than gold because gold miners make more gold, and because gold is a 19th century idea. You can't teleport gold at the speed of light. And we kind of felt like Bitcoin had the appeal of a big tech network. And it also had the appeal of a tangible commodity that was the most scarce commodity. Silver is down 21% since that day. Silver is disaster. Bonds, if you bought long-dated bonds, they're down 19%. So, you could have guessed a very weak commodity and credit, both of those not good investments. What about gold? Gold's down 5%. Gold's dead money. So all that money printing, none of it found its way into gold. So what went up in value, or what up in price at least? The NASDAQ is up 23%, and the S&P is up 29%. Bitcoin is up 153%. So Bitcoin's outperforming the S&P by a factor of 5. It's left gold in the dust. Now, if you look at big tech companies, well, Apple's up 64%, Google's up 63%, Microsoft's up 61%. Those are the three big tech monopolies, and they're monsters in their space. But Facebook, Meta is only up 7%, Netflix is down 12%, Amazon's down 17%. The last 3 years, Bitcoin's been the best performing asset. Why? It's just the most thermodynamically sound, simplest idea.
As interest rates climb quickly from pandemic lows, where is Bitcoin currently placed?
The last macroeconomic observation is that, interest rates did go to zero. They stayed at zero for 18 months, then they got jacked up to 500 basis points in 12 months. It started breaking the banks. It really crimped the commercial real estate industry, the residential real estate industry. It squeezed the equity markets. And now we're kind of like at this point where it's not clear, do they creep up a little bit or the interest rates to come back in? And at some point, they're going to have to loosen monetary policy. So we're poised there. The question is Bitcoin going to be banned, hacked, or copied? Right? It was the biggest crypto asset 3 years ago, but will it be banned? Will it be hacked? Will it be copied? That's the question for any investor. What happens next?
The established controllers of global money have been reluctant to embrace Bitcoin as an investable asset. Michael thinks that might be changing.
Bloomberg, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNBC, Congress, the SEC, the CFTC, the Treasury, all the central banks of the world, they all kind of acknowledge it's not tulip bulbs. It's a real asset. It's a digital commodity. So the deniers are out of the mainstream. Then you have the skeptics. Like Bitcoin is a really good idea, but it's too good idea, so the government's going to ban it. And we had, Jamie Dimon said it. You've got other people that said it. Larry Fink once said, it's an index of money laundering. So the skeptics held the day for a while. But I think in the last 24 to 36 months, the skeptics have kind of fallen out of the mainstream as well, because you can't with a straight face go on CNBC and say Bitcoin's going to be banned when they've got the ticker in the lower right corner and they got the head of the SEC, the head of the CFTC, and the Secretary of the Treasury, and then Jerome Powell all saying, I think it's going to be around for a while. It's a real thing.
We all know Bitcoin can be volatile. Michael believes less volatility might be just around the corner.
The best thing that could happen to Bitcoin is the volatility decreases a bit, but the correlations break down, because if it's an uncorrelated asset and it's a legitimate asset, then most of the financial world is underexposed, right? You've got $500 trillion of liquid financial assets floating around, and 0.1% of that is Bitcoin. So if it gets to be 1%, right, 2%, then it's going up by a factor of 10 or more. As more people adopt it, and as liquidity increases in the mainstream institutional investor market, I think the volatility will decrease and is decreasing.
Technocrat investors are among the wealthiest investors. Michael believes that Bitcoin can fit into the technocrat investment sphere.
Just about everybody that got insanely wealthy over the past 20 or 30 years was a technocrat, really, if you think about it. And then eventually you get the Warren Buffetts and you get the Carl Icahns of the world that say, I don't know if I understand it, but it seems like a juggernaut, so I guess I'll buy $10 billion of it. And Warren Buffett made more money on Apple stock than he made in his entire life on everything else you've ever heard of. And he made that money faster. And so the technocrat, kind of wins over the mainstream investor. And Bitcoin is emerging as this dominant digital monetary network or dominant digital commodity network. So Bitcoin is emerging as this digital property network, and it meets the use case of store of value. And all of the endorsements have made a huge difference. I mean, you've got 4 presidential candidates that have come out pro-Bitcoin. If you've got the regulators endorsing it, Congress endorsing it, legislators endorsing it, you've got candidates endorsing it, then I think you've turned a corner.
Basic human ownership rights over property is something we take for granted in most Western countries. Michael explains how Bitcoin might be used to bring property rights to developing countries as well.
If you thought it's an ethical good to give property rights to 8 billion people, and everybody in Africa, South America, and Asia deserves property rights, and you see a network that is nation-state resistant, that is not controlled by any company, that's a global network that's open, permissionless, it'd be great to issue $10 trillion of US dollars so they circulate in Africa, Asia, everywhere in the world, and it would be good for the 8 billion people on the planet, especially the 7 billion that can't get dollars. But there's a lot of people that don't want that because they want this to be a system of control, and they don't want the dollars to circulate freely and fast and non-KYC. So we're in this interesting gray zone where there's a massive fight between the establishment that wants to control the monetary system and then the forces of technology, right, and progress that want money to move at the speed of light between 100 million companies and 8 billion mobile devices. Bitcoin is a solution that's helpful to every person, every corporation, every government, every agency. I think it's just a constructive, useful thing. It's thermodynamically sound economic energy.
As Bitcoin is adopted more and more around the globe, and the regulatory bodies embrace ETF models and gain control over the on and off ramps, Bitcoin is poised to gain access to more of the $300 trillion in investment capital floating around the world. It doesn't take much to draw the conclusion that will have a positive impact on the price of Bitcoin over the coming years. If you enjoyed the content, please give this video a like, as it helps me get the videos out to more people on YouTube. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload new content to help keep you informed about the financial markets and the world of Bitcoin and crypto. This is in no way financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. You need to do a lot of research and talk to a professional about your particular financial situation and what investments might be right for you. Until next time, happy investing.